Everybody, for coming to the next lecture on emotional knots. What are they exactly? So emotional knots are really what meditation is all about. And the important thing is not on being a good meditator, but it's on realizing that what happens in meditation does not stay in meditation. In meditation, we run into struggle, but this is an indication of the kind of struggle that we are having in our life, right? The inner struggles we run into during our meditations do not exist only in meditation. Inner struggle disrupts our day-to-day activities. We know that. I mean, if you've ever tried to do yoga when you begin, we know from thought, we know that yoga is something that's healthy for us. And yet we have this internal argument not to do it, right? Part of us is arguing against us, right? And, this is very noticeable, like I said, in meditation. But it is possible to bring this wayward energy, or this energy that opposes us in the present, to rest. The Buddha did this using meditation. And the state that we're looking for is done by placing ourselves in a quiet, safe, meditative state where we're without physical need. The Buddha did this by asking his students to sit down and close their eyes, right? We can do it virtually any way we want. But we are placing ourselves in a safe, quiet place where we need nothing physically. And then we listen. What we're listening for is discontentment, in a sense. We have no physical needs, so if our contentment was focused in the right way, we would be content, or the body would be silent, the mind would be silent. So contentment is signaled by natural silence or calmness. But wayward energy is not calm, and this will begin to interact with us or disrupt us during our meditation. This is where most people will say, I cannot meditate, because if I do, my mind won't stop talking, right? This is normal. This is what the Buddha knew existed in the minds of men. And he was kind of playing around with contentment and discontentment and where this came from. And so he wanted us to notice this. So he wanted us to ask a few questions, and one of them is, what is this energy that we're running into? And where does it come from? If it is discontentment that comes from our needs, then it would go away when our needs were met. But this discontentment follows us around, in a sense, right? It follows us all around. The reason it exists is because we have energy already in motion before we sat down to meditate. So the one thing the Buddha was trying to reveal to us was that we do not have 100% control of our energy in the present if some of our energy is already at work. And these are what I would call previous journeys, right? We are on previous journeys. Our energy is on a previous journey that has not yet come to an end. If we're not careful, these previous journeys or our past energy will conflict with our life in the present. And this is really where most people sit today, right? Their lives are being kind of affected by energy that's going in all different directions, right? It's just going in all different directions. Some parts of us wants to do this, some parts wants to do the exact opposite, right? There's no real, plan that's really working out. And it makes us feel powerless, right? Not only in meditation, not only are people saying, I can't meditate, people are saying that I can't cope. I can't cope with life. And the two are intertwined. The two are intertwined. This is really what a blockage is, right? We hear blockage, in different spiritual circles. But a blockage is when our present energy is being challenged by our previous energy. Right? One part of us wants to go on a diet, and the other part of us wants to order pizza, right? And if we're not careful, these energy movements can cancel each other out completely. This is quite common, really, because what we are dealing with, this past energy, is not the mind, in a sense. It's us. We put it there. It's us with our power, right? And we have the ability to hold ourselves back. Probably more than others. We have the greatest ability to hold ourselves back, right? Which is great in a way, because that means that we have the greatest ability to move ourselves forward once we figure out this puzzle. When you start looking at the math of this situation, you begin to see that if we have control of 50% of our energy in the present, and 50% of our energy is tied up in the past and on past journeys that are not finished yet, then we will go absolutely nowhere, right? 50% minus 50% equals zero movement forward, right? The good news is this math changes quickly, because if we can get 25% to go within our direction, we could very quickly be 75 versus 25, right? Moving at half speed, right? Which is faster than most people are moving at today, right? Most people are stuck. Some people are moving, many people are moving backwards, right? And we see this where they're being dragged down by their habits in a way. We are battling a previous way of thinking. That's important to recognize, because that means that we are battling ourselves. And that means that we can't use force, because we have equal power. It takes years to figure that out with meditation, let me tell you. Trying to fight every single thing and losing, right? But really, that means that those things that oppose us cannot overpower us either. We have equal power. But it has no value for us to be opposed to ourselves in some ways, right? If 50% is working for us and 50% is working against us, we're still moving at 0%, right? So we can't overpower these energies, because they have equal strength. We must find a better way to align our energies than force, than control. But what are these energies? Where do these energies come from, in a sense, right? And we're going to look at them one-on-one, but just for a small list, we can see that these energies, or this previous journeys, can come from things like narrow understanding, right? Forming narrow opinion, right? Fears from the past, or desires that build up. These are things that cannot easily be stilled once they get moving. Addictions, right? Things like smoking or drinking or coffee, caffeine, chocolate, these types of things. These things create a continual need that unless these things are satisfied, these things will create emotional movements, right? Satisfaction is only temporary. There is no such thing as permanently satisfying an addiction unless you end it, right? That is how you permanently satisfy an addiction, right? Misconceptions, large misconceptions about how our world works, right? What we expect, we begin to have expectations based on those misconceptions, and they don't work out, and that can create movement in the mind, right? And then there's the plain old endless searching, right? The mind loves to search, and even when it finds the answers, it will often continue to search for something else, right? So these are many of the emotional knots that can build in our minds, and that can oppose us, right? In meditation, we begin to view these things one-on-one, and we can examine these thinkings or these fears or whatever we are dealing with to see if they are valid, to see whether this was a reaction in the past that we might want to look at again, right? And as we form new understandings, we begin to let go of what is not needed, what is opposing us in the present but does not need to oppose us. And we begin to form partnerships with this energy to move in the same direction at the same time. And in this way, we align our energy and move forward without resistance. We begin to live a life of effortless existence, as the Buddha did. So this is an interesting topic, these knots that form, because we can untie them. We have the power to untie them. And by untying them, we begin to grow into an expansive being that is not plagued by the constant movement of energies in multiple directions. We begin to move in one single direction in the present day, which is unbelievable, an unbelievable state of mind. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. We're going to do a few more like this with these boards, as well as talking from the mat. But I thank you again and enjoy. Namaste.